Hi, my name's Esther. I'm 14 and I'm here to talk to you today about my journey in becoming a young activist. I really hope that once you've heard this talk, you'll be empowered to go and take your own action, to make the changes that you want to see in society, and to start, in however small a way, a personal journey, just like the one that I've been on. It doesn't have to be a momentous action, and it doesn't have to change your life completely. That is, unless you want it to, of course. 2.5 years ago, I started my journey to become a climate activist. I was and I am passionate about the world and how young people can help find solutions to prevent the detrimental impacts of the climate crisis. I wanted to get young people heard and I wanted people to listen to what we had to say. I was sick of seeing horrific images on the news of floods, of deforestation, of wildfires, and feeling like I couldn't do anything about it. This feeling of a ticking time bomb was what spurred me on, really, because no matter how old I was, there still wasn't that much time left until climate change would become irreversible. But this isn't going to be a lecture on the impacts of climate change, because maybe that isn't what interests you. Maybe you're passionate about healthcare or speaking out against racism or gender equality or all of these things. That's up to you. And the action that you take doesn't need to be big. Mine wasn't at first. The start of my activism was a petition to ban the use of single-use plastic bottles in my school canteen. But that small petition led me to a conversation with my head teacher, which led to a meeting with the school catering company, which led to a pledge to ban all single-use plastic in my school canteen. The feeling of success is perhaps one of the best feelings of all, and I know it really made me want to do some more. So I did. In fact, starting small really isn't a bad idea because Troy wasn't built in a day, and lots of small things being achieved is so much bigger than one huge aim that you never even accomplish. And maybe your action feels small or unimportant, but even just one small action can have a huge influence and inspire hundreds of other people. And I've learned to be confident in my ideas and in my voice. Since I've stepped up and spoken out about problems I see with the world, but also about solutions to put in place, I've been met with a constant stream of support from the people around me. Because even if some people disagree or won't hear what you have to say, they are absolutely outnumbered by the people who will believe in you. And these people can come from even the most unexpected places sometimes. When I created my petition, I joined the eco group at my school, and we made an assembly to explain why it was so important that we banned the single-use bottles, but also to promote the petition. My head teacher was stood at the side watching. So after the assembly, I was called to his office, which was quite nerve-wracking for a year 7, who'd basically just complained about his system to the rest of her year. But he was nothing if not supportive. He set up meetings with the school catering company and was hugely helpful in the banning of the bottles. And yes, I was incredibly lucky to have such an understanding head. But no matter who or where you are, there will be people who are ready for change and who won't stop until you get it. One thing that I've really struggled with through my activism has been disappointment. The eco group have been planning our single-use plastic pledge for a while, and when we met up with the catering company again, they pulled back. They said that they could get rid of the single-use bottles, but not the single-use plastic altogether. And I was really gutted, but also quite angry. I had to learn to move past these problems. We compromised and we've been slowly phasing out single-use plastic in our school for the last 2 years. Which just shows everyone faces problems and difficulties along the way, but we need to work to move past them. That wasn't the last problem that I faced, the last bump in the road. But I've moved past them and I've carried on, because that is how actions are achieved and change is made. Momentum builds, and with the help of these people supporting you, small actions can become bigger and bigger. Without my first few actions, I would never have had the opportunity to meet with Michael Gove, the head of the Department for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs at the time, or Jeremy Corbyn when he was the leader of the Labour Party. Because maybe when I'm stood out in the rain holding up wet banners while I'm school striking, I can feel unimportant or small. But it's moments when you recognise the power of your own words that you feel influential, and you realise the true impact that you're having on the world around you. What I've learned is that not only is it vital that young people are listened to and communicated with, but it's also really important that as young people, we see the value of our opinions and voices. 2 years ago, a new environmental group was being set up in my town. I went along to the first meeting, expecting my voice to be shouted down before I could even state my opinion. It was a room of around 50 other people, none of whom were under the age of 40. But I was wrong. I wasn't just listened to, but my idea was put into action. 7 smaller groups were formed to discuss specific problems to do with climate change and solutions for our town. I was the chair of one of them. We discussed the lack of youth representation within the meeting and the idea to organise an inter-school environmental group, helping to break down the barriers between students and creating projects together that would help the town. We set it up, and what was then an idea being thrown around is now called Eco-Youth. Our first project together, creating eco-brick flower bed, received £500 in grant money from Grow Wild, an outreach arm of Kew Gardens. We got people in the community involved, making and donating eco-bricks, single-use plastic bottles that you fill with non-recyclable materials until they're basically as solid as a brick. And I think that really shows that if you put your plans into action and you do something about your ideas, then they can turn into reality. And better yet, they can help your community and, in our case, the planet. It felt really great to be listened to and respected for my ideas like any other adult in that room, and questioned when people saw potential flaws in the plans like any other adult in that room. I'm really glad that I joined that group, because even though it was really scary and daunting standing up in front of a big room of adults to share ideas that were at the time very close to my heart, I received invaluable help, advice, support, and I really enjoyed learning about the other projects in the group as well. And maybe you're sat there wondering how you can get started, or how one small action can lead to an endless roller coaster ride of activism. When I'll be honest, I owe a lot of what I've done to the charity Action for Conservation. They saw my petition on social media and suggested that I apply for their week-long conservation camp in Wales, where there would be beach cleans and bat walks and loads of great opportunities. I applied and I was accepted. The camp inspired me to continue taking action about the climate, and I found loads more opportunities in the next 2 years through their quarterly newsletters. It's been so important to me to have them there, And I know that I wouldn't have done half the things I've accomplished if it weren't for them. And maybe conservation isn't what you care about, but there will be people out there who care about what you think and who will believe in you and give you opportunities to spread the word, just like I found with Action for Conservation. Young people need a seat at the table. We need to share our opinions and raise our voices. Because we are citizens too, and we deserve to have our voices listened to. And not only that, but we can help. We can give solutions, use the different perspectives that we have, and share the load of our problems in our world. We can't leave it to everyone else to clean up after us and to make the decisions. So I wanted to start making some decisions too. Which is when I got word through Action for Conservation of a new project that they were going to start facilitating, the Pen Pump Project. Based in the Brecon Beacons in Wales, the Pen Pump Project is the world's largest youth-led nature restoration project. And you might have heard of rewilding, which is a method where we basically let land restore to its original state, or like what it would be like by leaving the land to itself. And nature restoration is a bit like that. We'd aim to bring back lots of the native species to the area of land and restore it to its natural form, increasing biodiversity and helping to create a habitat for animals that are in decline. I applied to the project and I got a place on their youth leadership group, made up of 20 young people from all across the country. Over the last year, we've been taking nature surveys, exploring the project site, researching other projects, applying for funding, and loads more. But I think that my favourite thing about the project is the aim to teach other young people about nature by showing them firsthand what really happens when nature restores and grows back in the way that it wants to. I really hope that in years to come, young people will see the site and be inspired to protect our beautiful planet. It's been so fun being part of this decision making and interacting with the project partners. I'm really lucky to get the opportunity to be working alongside them. Young people need to be a part of the conversation, which we can see really clearly in the current crisis. We not only have to have a voice when crisis hits, but also in the prevention of crises. During this pandemic, our voices haven't been listened to. Nobody under the age of 18 was allowed to submit questions to the daily briefings earlier on in lockdown. And I don't see a single young person helping to advise the government. We need to be heard, and we won't stop until that is the case. Over the past couple of years, I've learned loads. I've developed as a person, and my interests and passions have grown hugely. And I'm still learning. By no means do I have all the answers. I'm learning new things every single day. I'm finding new passions and interests, like my recent discovery of my digital footprint. And I'm gaining more knowledge all of the time, which is one of the most exciting things about being a young activist. I never stop learning new things. And there's loads of projects I'm finding too. I've just started volunteering for a local pop-up waste-free shop called Scoop and Scales in my town. Lockdown has changed things a lot, and the coronavirus crisis has been a real struggle for so many people. But there have been some positives. The movement of lots of events and meetings online has meant that I can access so much more than I would usually be able to, living in the north of England. And maybe you're still not convinced to take action, and that's fine. But my activism hasn't just been serious debates and a fight for what I believe in. It's also been really fun. I've tried new things, and through this I've learned about the kind of activism that I like to take. I've had the chance to write articles for the Daily Mirror, written funding applications, become a member of a youth advisory board, created projects and received grants for them, been involved in key decision-making projects, and so much more. Although maybe that's not everyone's idea of fun. I've also been invited to loads of events with really good free buffets, which can never be a bad thing. The point is that there are hundreds and hundreds of different opportunities out there for you to take about what matters to you. And there are so many different ways of taking action. Maybe you want to make a petition, or write a blog about the problems that you're passionate about, or do hands-on work in your community, like planting a tree or volunteering at the local hospital. Or maybe you'll write a letter to your MP or local council. Or you could make some eco bricks and donate them to a local collection point that you can find on ecobrick.org. Or even better, build something with them yourself. There are endless ways to take action, and all you need to do is get started. And then, maybe, in a few years, you'll be recording a speech which is just like this one, about the action that you've taken and about how that has empowered you.